Hello, and welcome to a special presentation by Billy Host Sports. On May 4th, 2024, we celebrate the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. This milestone marks a celebration of my hometown's greatest sporting event. We continue on in the years preceding World War II, the United States experiencing the Roaring Twenties, characterized by economic prosperity and cultural changes, social transformations, and in 1925, the Kentucky Derby gets its nickname, Run for the Roses, a phrase coined by sports columnist Bill Corum. On May 16th, as the field of 20 horses parade to the track, a sudden downpour soaks the race course. The rain came again as the horses were lining up at the gate, delaying the start for several minutes. Flying Ebony broke from post 6. He was leading at the opening quarter, then took the lead in the home stretch and won by a length and a half. 1926, May 15th. Bubbling Over was a very promising horse, but was plagued by physical limitations throughout his career. He won the Bluegrass Stakes leading up to the Kentucky Derby by 8 lengths, and then went on to claim the crown. 13 career starts, Bubbling Over was never out of the money. The 1927 Kentucky Derby had a field of 15 formidable contenders, with almost half the horses under 10-1 odds. The race was exciting as billed, with Whiskery defeating Osmond by just a nose. And unfortunately for Whiskery, his career went downhill from there. He had a lot of problems, fluky injuries, an eye injury on the farm caused him to ultimately have to be euthanized. The 1928 Kentucky Derby experienced another deluge of rain with nearly 4 inches soaking the track. Ray Count broke slowly, trailing the field in 5th place, but when called upon, he responded. Ray Count drew away in the end, splashing down the stretch to a 3-length victory, seemingly loving the sloppy conditions. The 1929 Kentucky Derby winner was the first male offspring of the famous horse Man of War. This was the last year the horses were aligned across the track without a boundary. That would play a significant part in jockey strategy this season. Stranded in post 20 with deep water close to the rail, jockey McAtee moved his horse closer to the middle to avoid any messy conditions. He was also fitted with mud caulks to go on his horseshoes to assist him on the muddy track, a strategy overlooked by his rivals. Clyde Van Dusen, being a smaller horse, had little trouble navigating the slop and won the race by a comfortable 2 lengths. He was actually the last gelding to win the Kentucky Derby until Funnyside did it in 2003. So a long stretch without a gelding winning a Kentucky Derby. May 17, 1930, Churchill Downs faced a torrential downpour once again before a crowd of 60.
Fox, number 7, the favorite. Radio is here. And let's keep our eye on the gate. Head off. Gallant Fox in early trouble.
50,000 spectators. Gallant Fox got off to a slow start, but as the horses entered the backstretch, the tide turned, marking the inevitable triumph of Gallant Fox's second leg of the Triple Crown. The legendary colt entered the June 7th Belmont Stakes as the second choice, as he was to face his most talented rival, Which One. He went on to secure the second ever Triple Crown. Jockey Earl Sand, who actually won 3 Kentucky Derbies, the Preakness that year, and 5 Belmont Stakes, Hall of Fame jockey in his own right. The 1931 Kentucky Derby, held on May 16th at Churchill Downs, was a testament to Louisville's resilience during the hardships of the Great Depression. The Derby provided a brief respite, drawing a huge crowd eager for the excitement of horse racing. 20 grand a chestnut colt was the victor under the guidance of jockey Charlie Kurtzinger. The 1932 Kentucky Derby, held on May 7th, marked another chapter in the annals of horse racing history amidst the backdrop of the Great Depression. In this edition, Burgoo King, a sturdy bay colt, galloped to victory under jockey Eugene James. Burgoo King's triumph captivated spectators and provided a glimmer of hope during uncertain times. The 1933 Kentucky Derby was a memorable race. Broker's Tip, a chestnut colt, surged ahead to victory under jockey Don Meade. A reporter by the name of Wally Lowry had no idea when he was hired to take a head-on photo of the stretch that it would be forever a part of Derby lore. Meade was to the inside, being forced to the rail. He fought back and forth with jockey Herb Fisher down the stretch, and Lowry got the head-on photo of the two jockeys trading barbs down the stretch. Back then, there were no stewards or officials to call foul. Very exciting finish to the race. 1934 Cavalcade, a sleek-looking bay colt, won the Kentucky Derby with jockey Mac Garner aboard. Owned by Brookmead Stable and trained by Robert A. Smith, Cavalcade's triumph marked the fifth time a female owner claimed the Gold Cup. The 1935 Kentucky Derby, May 4th at Churchill Downs in Louisville. Omaha Chestnut Colt captured the imagination of racing enthusiasts and was ridden to victory by jockey Willie Smoky Saunders. Trained by Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, Omaha's win marked the start of a remarkable journey as he would go on to claim the Triple Crown later that year. The 1936 Kentucky Derby witnessed a remarkable performance by Bold Venture, who showcased both speed and endurance to claim victory against a competitive field of contenders. Ira Babe Hanford rode Bold Venture to victory in the 1936 Kentucky Derby, and that man lived to the ripe old age of 91, and at the time of his death, he was the oldest winning jockey of the time. The 1937 Derby entered the golden age of racing, a time when the sport captivated audiences with thrilling races, triple crowns, and legendary competitors. In this era, horses like War Admiral emerged as icons of speed and grace, setting the stage for his historic triumph in the 1937 Kentucky Derby. His dominance on the track was significant, as he was able to complete the Triple Crown run that season. What set the 1938 Kentucky Derby apart, aside from the intense competition, was the performance of Lauren, who demonstrated exceptional speed and stamina to outpace his rivals, also introducing Eddie Arcaro's masterful ride, guiding Lauren to victory, marking the first of 5 Kentucky wins for the legendary jockey. 1939 Kentucky Derby, held on May 6th at Churchill Downs, was a memorable event filled with drama.
Highlights in the world of sports. The 65th running of the classic Kentucky Derby, with all roads leading to Louisville's Churchill Downs, where the bands blare and the flags wave, and 70,000 spectators await the heartthrobs of America's banner horse race of the year. Since early dawn, 3 to 5, they're at the post. Starter Billy Hamilton scans the lineup. A well-behaved field today. Watch it. They're all in line, and there they go. A good start. El Chico dashing into the post position along the rail. Johnstown, as the colt pounds down the pay dirt stretch, unmindful, it seems, of what goes on behind, as Chaladon, under the strong urging of jockey Sebo, displaces Heather Broom for place honors. Johnstown, look at his ears. Tuning in, no doubt, the mighty acclaim of the crowd. A fitting tribute to a fine and speedy colt who at last gives evidence that among the years out...
39 Derby, particularly remarkable, was for the first time in history, the Run for the Roses was filmed in color. In sports, the 1940 Kentucky Derby took on added importance as a source of entertainment and moral boost during uncertain times. The race served as a reminder of the resilience and the spirit of Americans amidst the challenges of the era. The 1940 Kentucky Derby stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of champions and the timeless allure of the Run for the Roses. Galahadion's victory remains a cherished memory for racing enthusiasts. 1941 was obviously a pivotal year in world history. It would be later that December the attack on Pearl Harbor would take place, which led the United States into World War II. But earlier in the May 1941 Kentucky Derby also marked the beginning of Whirlaway's historic Triple Crown campaign. It also marked the second Kentucky Derby win for Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Arcaro. Following his triumph at Churchill Downs, Whirlaway went on to claim victories at the Preakness and the Belmont, securing the Triple Crown, the fifth horse in history to do so at the time. He also won the Travers Stakes after his Triple Crown sweep to become the first and only horse to win all four of those races in the same year. The 1942 Kentucky Derby, held amidst the backdrop of World War II, witnessed Shutout emerge as the victorious horse. Ridden by jockey Wayne Wright, this race marked the 68th edition of the prestigious event, drawing attention despite the challenges of wartime America. Shutout was a chestnut stallion, and his fans called him the Chocolate Soldier, who, in addition to winning the Kentucky Derby, also won the Belmont and Travers Stakes that year, and he unfortunately lost to his main rival, Alsab, in the Preakness, which Alsab actually ended up winning Horse of the Year honors for the 3-year-old class.
The camera highlights in the world of sports. From war, hell, or high water, America's annual Blue Ribbon Horse Race goes on regardless. And for 60,000 spectators who got here by streetcar, no doubt, the getaway of the year's back 3-year-olds is the big news of the moment. In the run to the first turn, Gold Shower, number 11, gives out with his one brief bid for glory. As the eyes of the multitude scan the field of 10 for the highly touted Count Fleet, surest price favorite in Kentucky Derby history. Relax, honey. The Fleet is in like Montgomery's 8th Army. From here, he could make it with hobbles. And thus, the 69th, the wartime edition, the Streetcar Kentucky Derby is newsreel.
The 1940s was also the decade of the Triple Crown champion, with 4 horses claiming the prestigious title. The second of the decade was Count Fleet. He won the Belmont Stakes by a then record margin of 25 lengths. After an undefeated season, he was named the 1943 Horse of the Year champion, 3-year-old. Also a champion at age 2, he is ranked as one of the greatest racehorses of the 20th century, coming in number 5 on the Blood Horse magazine's listing. He was inducted to the Racing's Hall of Fame in 1961. The 1944 Kentucky Derby stands out as a unique chapter in race's history. Occurring during the heart of the World War II conflict, Pensive was a bright chestnut racehorse that won the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Pensive also began the second sire line, quote-unquote, hat trick in the Kentucky Derby, as his son Ponder would go on to be a future Kentucky Derby champion, and Ponder's son Needles would also do the same in the 1956 edition of the Kentucky Derby. Regularly held on the first Saturday of May, the 1945 edition of the Kentucky Derby was initially scheduled for May 5th. However, in the December of 1944, the director of the Office of War Mobilization, James F. Burns, requested that all horse racing tracks suspend racing starting in January of 1945, which would briefly delay the Run for the Roses until June 9th of that year. Hoop Jr. won that 1945 Derby, and it was Eddie Arcaro once again with his 3rd Kentucky Derby victory.
The steam for his 3rd Derby victory, opening up a 6-length lead, and Hoop Jr. ramps home all by himself.
Arcaro went on to become one of the most celebrated jockeys in horse racing history, and his win at the Derby further solidified his reputation in the sport. With WW2 finally ending in the fall of 1945, The 1946 Kentucky Derby shined a new light on America and brought Churchill Downs the only Texas-bred winner of the Triple Crown.
Out front now is Spy Song, setting a fast pace, and right behind him, Knocked Down, Hope of Mrs. Graham's Main Chance Farm. Pounding into the turn, it's still Spy Song by a whisker, but still anybody's race. And a nervous moment for the racing fans as the 3-year-olds go down the back stretch. Keep your eye on number 3, Assault, running 5th. Assault at 8-1. The last turn, number 3 making his bid. Assault coming up on the rail. He's passing Spy Song. Jockey Mertens keeps right after the Texas-bred King Ranch entry, and Assault responds valiantly. With every stride, the doughty son of another Derby winner, Bold Venture, increases his lead.
The 1947 Kentucky Derby belonged to Jet Pilot, ridden by jockey Eric Guerin. Jet Pilot won the race by 3 lengths, solidifying his place in racing history. While Jet Pilot's victory may not have been as widely remembered as some of the other famous Kentucky Derby champions, it still remains an integral part of the event's storied history, Kentucky Derby history. The 1948 Kentucky Derby brought us one of the history's greatest thoroughbreds.
Our old friend Portis feels faint. He bet on Escadrille, with its citation increasing his lead with every thundering gallop. Coletown and the others with Escadrille way behind. It's all citation, just as most of the experts predicted, going on to win by 3.5 lengths.
In the 1949 Kentucky Derby, Ponder claimed victory under Steve Brooks. This marked the 75th running of the renowned race, and Ponder's triumph added another chapter to the storied history of the Kentucky Derby, showcasing the thrill of competition and the enduring legacy of champions on the hallowed grounds of Churchill Downs. I'd like to thank you for saddling up with me today. Until next time, happy trails.